Hello, everyone. Russell Scheider. And if you're in the remodeling business, or the construction business, or you sell products, or you sell projects, you're going to want to stick with me and take the opportunity that I'm going to share with you today. So here's what I can help you do. I'm going to share with you one of my very favorite power tools. And this is a technique that I use to close sales. And this technique, in conjunction with my entire sales system, allows me to sell more, to connect with clients on a very deep level, and to make very high profit margins. And you can do the same. So the secrets are in the formula, the secrets are in the power tools. And I'm going to share one of those with you a little bit later, absolutely free. Now, those are bold claims that we can increase sales, strengthen our customer relationships, and make higher profit margins just by using some simple tools. It's a bold claim, but stick with me because I think I've earned this one. Tens of millions of dollars worth of projects under my belt, and a list of clients that includes celebrities like Paula Deen from the Food Network. If you watch her television show where she's cooking in a kitchen that's in her home, that's one of my projects. Also worked for Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers Band, John Schmaltz from the Atlanta Braves, and some other people that you would have heard of. More importantly, I've done some wonderful projects for people you'll never hear of. And I've worked for everyone from the CEOs of major corporations to families who are teachers, postal workers. One of my favorite clients is a forklift driver in a warehouse. But the point is high profit margins, good sales volume, and great customer relationships. So stick with me. I'm going to give you some free power tools today. I also have another free bonus for you. So stay tuned. So what we're talking about are project sales power tools. Now, I realize that a lot of you watching this are business owners or salespeople who work in a company that already has a very strong, clearly defined sales system, and I'm not here to change that. But these power tools can move you and your clients through the sales process quickly and smoothly and give us all better outcomes. And I also have conversations with people like a friend who is a fantastic remodeler, does all sorts of quality, very high quality projects, runs an outstanding production schedule, but he's struggling with his profit margins and a little bit with sales volume, but more with the margins because the sales side of the business really is not nearly as efficient, organized, or high quality as the construction side. So in that case, the system is very valuable and the power tools are absolutely priceless. So I'm going to share those with you as we go along. And again, if you're running a great system, you may see some critical minor changes you could make in your system and the implementation through what I'll share. So here's a promise: more sales, higher margins, better projects, and fewer problem clients because we have better relationships. So what does a sales process look like? In my mind, a sales process is a very clear set of steps, just like a construction process on a renovation project or a construction project. Sometimes our sales process looks like this, and in just a few minutes, we'll talk about one of the major reasons why our sales process ends up looking like this. If you notice, we're still getting there. It's just a mess in the middle. So here's my sales blueprint. Now I'd like to give you a very high altitude view of the sales blueprint and how the process works. There are three stages that we go through. It's a stage of discovery. This is the point where we meet the client for the first time and begin the process of understanding who the client is and how we can best serve them. What sort of project are they looking for? And the most important thing to remember at this point is a lot of times our clients don't know what they want. And some of the best referrals I've ever received are from clients who say, Russ helped us get what we want when we didn't even know what we wanted. And that's how this system can work, because I have a very detailed interview process that we go through during the discovery phase. That interview, or what I call a project worksheet, is a free gift for you. Project worksheets are invaluable for this discovery process, and it sets the tone and leads us through the entire process. And they're my gift to you. If you'll join me and make some comments, plan to watch future videos, there will come a point where I'll definitely share this bonus with you. Or if I see you in person, let me know and I'll bring you a printed copy. So using our project worksheet, and by the way, when you request your bonus, there's a kitchen worksheet, a bathroom worksheet, a whole house remodel worksheet that also works for additions, and then there's a specialized decks and porches worksheet. I know in certain parts of the country you do finished basements and that sort of thing. We can certainly develop a worksheet together for other projects. Where I live, we do decks and porches. As a matter of fact, outside my office, there's a tropical storm raging. So if you hear some bangs and thumps, it's just a few tree branches, nothing to be worried about. So here's our three-step process. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This is just a very high altitude view. But there are very specific steps that we take. And we do not move to the presentation phase until the discovery phase is entirely completed. And in future videos or in extensive training, I can make sure that we understand when it's time to go from discovery to presentation, when it's time to go from presentation to commitment. When these changes take place is really critical to, what are we doing? Increasing our sales, increasing our margins. That means making more money. Those two things mean making more money. We're choosing our clients carefully, and we're crafting the best projects possible. Best projects possible means more quality of life for me, because I'm not having to babysit, put out fires quite as much. Still going to have to put out fires, still going to have to babysit, but it definitely improves the quality of life for me and my clients and my carpenters and everyone in our company. And it generates referrals. So new business comes from happy clients who had smooth projects. And those smooth projects begin with this discovery process, the presentation and the connection that I make with the client, and then gaining the commitment. So if you'll stay with me, in the very next video, in just a few minutes, I'm going to share some power tools, one of my favorite power tools for the commitment stage closing technique. So stay tuned. So just as an example, just to clarify this whole process, let's think about custom building this little house, or we're going to remove and remodel the kitchen in this little house. Before we go into that process, we're going to have a blueprint, and we're going to have a clearly defined set of steps for a project. We're talking about a project here. So we would never undertake the project in this way, with no blueprint, no production schedule, no material selections. Most of us have the material selected, purchased, and maybe even on site before we start construction or remodeling. And we're certainly not going to put the client in control of the planning and construction process. But I'll say to you that a lot of us, and I'm saying us because I've done it for certain myself, have let the client control, especially a particular personality type. And then we end up with this mess again. One of my past clients, who is a brilliant businesswoman, talks about customer-facing sales, meaning that our sales relationship with our customer is not customer-driven, meaning the customer's in control, but it's customer-facing, where we are very concerned about meeting our customers' wants and needs and getting them the best outcome, but we do not allow the client to control the process. So I find that visualizing the horrendous mess that would come from trying to build a house with no plan and the customer in control carries over into what our sales process can look like. So benefit of a sales blueprint are we can maximize sales, or we can laser target the type of sales that we want. And that can be whatever your target is. You want to sell truckloads of cabinets to the local tract builder? That's great. Laser target that, and we make that part of our plan. Or if you want to do very high-end work for very selective customers, in whatever section of the business you're in, that's certainly something you can do, and we need a blueprint for that. In any case, we want to maximize the profit margins, higher profit margins through organized effort, and then better outcomes, as I spoke of in the video, for everyone concerned. So let's talk about profit possibilities for a minute. Now, these are not income claims. I'm not guaranteeing anyone any sort of financial result from this, but let's just look at this. So $980,000, just under $1 million, is a pretty common target for an individual salesperson or an owner-operator, say a contractor who does remodeling work. So I'm going to start with that, and then I have another example as well. So current annual sales, and I have a friend in mind that this applies very well to. He does outstanding remodeling work of all sorts, kitchens, bathrooms, additions, all sorts of things. Runs a really tight ship on the production side, very happy customers, lots of referrals, but his sales system is very unstructured, let's say. So by implementing a sales system and using the power tools, we're going to project a 10% increase in sales. That's a pretty good increase. It's not dramatic, but I think we can certainly achieve a 10% increase in sales. So that's another $98,000 in sales. Well, as my father always said, it's not what you make, it's what you get to keep that counts. So that takes our annual sales to a little over $1 million. But here's the good stuff. My friend's profit margins are much lower than what I consider industry standard. And I'm quite certain that through organized effort on the sales side and the use of these power tools, especially the one I'm about to share with you in just a minute, we can increase his profit margin by 10%. That's a huge increase. In the next example, I'm going to show a very small increase, but I really think we can increase his by 10%. That is $107,000 in the bank. If you're a salesperson, just think about your commission or your profit share on that increased amount. As a business owner, we know we have expenses to pay. This is gross profit, but that's a tremendous boost to money in the bank for this individual salesperson or this company owner. Now let's look at a bigger company. This company is very old and established. This company has almost $7 million in annual sales, pretty big operation, multiple salespeople. They have a good system in place, but there are some gaps to be filled in the system, and I think the power tools would have a huge impact if all the salespeople were using them to close sales, connect with customers, and raise the profit margins. So I'm using a minuscule change increase in sales. 1.5% increase in sales is $102,000, takes us to $6.9 million. And then let's do another very conservative 1.5% gross profit margin increase. So that's another $103,000 in the bank. So you see the possibilities. Again, these are not income claims. This is not a guarantee that you'll make another $100,000 if you use my tools, but I'm confident that these are possibilities. So let's get into the power tools. Are you still doing it the hard way? We're trying to build a house with a handsaw. Let's use power tools. Now, here's something that I hear a lot of the time. Say, Russ, I really don't want to become a pushy, sleazy salesperson just to make more money. And speaking with a friend recently who I worked with for a long time, he said to me laughingly, he said, you're really a professional salesperson, Russ. You're not a blue suede shoes kind of guy. And I'm really not. I'm reserved. I'm not extroverted. If I can do it, you can certainly do it. And we definitely don't want to create this guy. So my power tools are training, and they're professional tools. So trained sales professionals get outstanding results. So without further ado, are you ready? I'm going to share with you one of my very favorite power tools, and it's close. And close is the way that we gain commitment. And a close is simply the point at which we move the client from one phase to another. So we are closing during discovery. We move to presentation. We're closing during presentation. And then what we really think of as closing the sale is when we produce this document that is some sort of agreement. That is terrible handwriting. Some sort of agreement. Is this a design agreement? Is it a project agreement? Contract would be a project agreement, and a retainer document would be a design agreement. Either way, we're asking the client to sign on the dotted line and to write us a check. So at that point, I'm going to do a quick review of everything we've talked about, go through the document and say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, Jim and Joan, all we need to do now is sign here, and then I sign my name, and I lay the pen on the table, on the document, and I fold my hands. So what I need now is your approval here and here. Please date it, and I'll need a check for this amount. Stop talking. The next person to speak loses. Stop talking. So at that point, what's one of the most common things and one of the most dreaded things that we as salespeople hear? You know, Russ, we really appreciate everything you've done, but we need to think about it. Joan and I need to think about it. Jim and I need to think about it. Stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? So now I have a choice. I can fold my hands and hang my head and say, oh, okay, well, think about it, and I guess you'll get back to me. Or I can step up and I can say, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but what exactly is it that you need to think about? And then don't allow them to answer, but keep talking. And I'm going to go through a mental list that I have where this is what I call the 5 points close. Number one, Jim and Joan, you said you need to think about it. And what exactly is it that you need to think about? Is it me? Give them time to answer. Because most of the time, we would not have gone through this lengthy process and gotten to the point of writing a project agreement if there was a personality conflict, or if they didn't trust me, or if they didn't like my references. So the question is it me? And assuming that the client says, oh, no, it's not you. It's not you. Okay, well, is it the company? I'm going to back up for a minute. What if it is me? At that point, if they say, yeah, you know what, we really are not comfortable, with something we heard from your references or something you said, or, your ability we think this is outside of your ability. So whatever it is, there may be something that comes up. I have had this happen, but if I'm really on the ball and I'm following the system and I'm using the power tools, that issue is going to come up early in the process. It's not going to be at the point where I'm presenting my design agreement, asking them to hire me for the initial stages of the project, or a product order where we've decided what cabinets we're going to buy and move forward. It's not going to happen at that point most of the time. So that's why this is such a good close. It's not pressure. Please don't see it as pressure. If it's pressure, I'm pulling the client to me or toward the project, not pushing them to anything they don't want to do. So I'm just simply asking, is it me? No, it's not you. Is it the company? Is there something about the company that you don't feel comfortable with? Is there something we need to address? And that's where we go back and I'm giving you the power tool, but there's a process that I go through during discovery and especially during presentation where I'm addressing these objections. I'm selling the company. I'm selling myself and my abilities and my concern and my desire to get them what they want. Selling the company early in the process. So Jim and Joan, is it me? Is it the company? Well, no, we love the company. I mean, we came here specifically and called you because of the company. Okay, great. So it's not me, it's not the company. Is it the product? I'm going to abbreviate product, design. So then I'm going to say, is it the products that we talked about? Do you remember the features and benefits and results of the products and the way they were selected? I mean, are you changing your mind about a product? Is that what you need to think about? And that may be a true objection. They may say, yeah, you know what? It's just, there's something about the product that we've selected that we're uneasy about. That's great. I haven't failed. I need to go back and address some concern with the product. Then we can move forward with the agreement. Is it the design? Or did we not, did we not design it properly? This is assuming that we're already through the design agreement stage and the design is completed and we're going to the project agreement. I'll give you a whole different scenario later if we're selling a design agreement. But is it the design? Is it my ability to design? Is it something about the functionality of the new kitchen, the new porch, the new house, whatever it is that we're doing? Or is it the construction? Is it something about the way we build things, the way we do things, our process, our scheduling? Is there something about the construction process? Now, let me just pause for a minute. I'm not talking to the customer now, I'm talking to you as my fellow salesperson. A lot of the time, remember, the contract and the pen are laying on the table. A lot of the time in my experience, and I got brave enough to do this about 20 years ago, the client has already picked up the pen. Jim and Joan, my fictional husband and wife, have looked at each other and said, you know what, let's do this. And they're already signing the document before I could even get through all 5 points. Because I need to think about it is what? Is it an objection or is it an excuse? It's an excuse. Our primitive brain, the very core of our brain, tells us to avoid pain at all costs, to avoid risk. And this is a lot of money and it's a big project and they're going to tear our house apart and put it back together, build a new house or whatever we're doing. So there's a big risk. So this is simply just a delay. So to finish the 5 points, but just bear in mind that if you're brave enough to do this, and if you'll do it in a very attractive manner, the way I do and the way I teach, then it'll work. It'll work, and a lot of times we've already signed the document by this point. But assuming we haven't, we get to number 4, which is value. This is value. That's what it costs versus what it's worth. Value is what does it cost, what is it worth. So in the stage of discovery, using my project worksheet and some power tools that I'll teach, we've established a budget. We've agreed to a budget. The client and I, or you and your client, have mutually committed to a budget range. And if I've done my job, this agreement is written within that budget range, somewhere between $1 and $2 is where this agreement is. So value really shouldn't be an issue. Price, when I was taught this 5 points close and the 5 buying decisions that it's based on 25 years ago, we used the word price. This was price. In the remodeling industry, I really, in every business, I really think value makes a lot more sense. So is it the value? And if that's a true objection, if that's really, they can't afford it, they can't pay for it, we haven't gotten them the proper financing or whatever, we've missed something here with value, it's a chance to address it. Number 5 is timing. Again, just like with the value, with the budget, all of these things I should have addressed during the process, so I should know what the timing is. And this is a point for me to say, well, it's not me, it's not the company, it's not the product, the design, or the construction. We've agreed on the value, so, if we want to get this done by, Christmas or graduation or the wedding or whatever we've established during discovery as the timeline, then we need to get this project started. We need to get the design process started wherever we are. So we talk about timing. Do you see how valuable this could be to close a sale instead of, I've been talking about this for 10 minutes now. And 10 minutes ago, I could have said, gosh, Jim and Joan, you need to think about it. I just don't know what to say to that. Well, I better know what to say to that if I'm going to sell more, raise my profit margins, and choose my clients carefully. Then I better know what to say to that if I'm going to be a professional salesperson. And what I say to that is, what exactly is it that you need to think about? Is it me? Is it my company? Is it? So you see that. So let's say that we get to number 5. In the unlikely event that we get to number 5 and our client has not signed the agreement, what's next? Well, then I have another close, and I'll share that with you at another time. Actually, I have 2 more that come after this before I pack it up and go home, because I'm not pushy, but I can get very pulley when the time comes. So please comment, please get in touch with me. There are lots of different ways that you can let me know what you think. And stay tuned, there's more good stuff to come, and I'll be in touch. Call me or email me for your free gift, which is the project worksheet that I mentioned. Well, if you like what you've heard and you like what you've seen and you'd like to know more, please give me a phone call. My phone number is right there. That rings straight through to my cell phone. I've also given my email address. So whether you're a salesperson, a business owner, a contractor who does it all himself, whatever your situation, if you sell, I can help you. So please call me for an absolutely free 15-minute coaching call, or send me an email with some feedback about other topics you'd like to hear about, something you disagree with that I said. Whatever feedback you have for me, I'd love to hear it. But please call to schedule your free coaching call. Thank you.